So I've been in the music industry for a while, and let me show you something really cool. I just got this plaque in the mail that is for 4 billion streams. Absolutely incredible. And that is just for Spotify and YouTube, not even counting Apple Music and Pandora, which would probably add another 2 billion. But the music industry is a little bit crazy, and we still don't really have a great way to track analytics for songwriters, but it is all good. The point is, billions of streams, that is life-changing stuff. It's life-changing in 3 different ways. It's life-changing financially, in that I've been able to provide for my family. We've been able to travel all over the world, accomplish so many of our personal finance goals, and start this company, Full Circle Music, which is bringing you this video right now. It's also affected my career in so many ways, including the fact that I am able to get into rooms with writers and artists that I never dreamed I would. The last thing that it does for me is it reminds me that when I come into the room and I see this plaque on the wall, it reminds me of the impact that my songs are having. Each one of those streams represents a real human that listened and hopefully has a better life after listening to the song that I was a part of. So how did this all happen? How did I pull this off? What skill is responsible for billions of streams? Well, you need a few skills in the music industry, but I think the most important one is one thing. And before I tell you what it is, I want you to guess in the comments below. Now, don't look at the other answers. That's cheating. Just post what you think it is in the comments below now. So, if you want to be a pro songwriter and get these kinds of results, I don't think there's any skill more important than co-writing. So when I first moved to Nashville, I had no idea that co-writing is really how all the hits get created. I assumed, probably like many of you out there, that I just write a song, I record it, I put it out, and it becomes a hit. I didn't realize there was this whole ecosystem of co-writing that happens on a day-to-day basis, where 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people getting together in a room for about 3 or 4 hours, and then they put their heads together, and then they come out with the most amazing song ever. And that's happening 100 times, 1,000 times a day just in Nashville alone. I had no idea that this was how it worked. And I started to dig into it more because I started to do it more, and I realized the reason. The reason is because of the roles in a room, and because each person has different strengths, each person has different weaknesses. Now, in a co-writing room, some of the roles might look like one person being the producer or the track guy, the person who's in charge of Pro Tools, getting a really good demo, recording a great demo. There might be somebody who is the lyric-focused person. There might be somebody who's the melody-focused person. You're gonna need a great singer to get a great demo of your song. And then there's also the role, which is sometimes a little bit intangible, but very valuable, that is the connector of, once we've written the song, what do we do with it? How do we get it somewhere to somebody who might cut it? So I realized that all of those things make up a great co-write. And most of us aren't self-contained with all of those skills. I know maybe 2 human beings I've ever met who have kind of all of those things in one complete package. And even them, they still write with people because they love it. It's because you just have so much more fun doing it. For instance, yesterday, I had a chance to write with a few of my favorite writers. We had a 4-way write. And you might ask, well, why would you do a 4-way? Doesn't that just dilute like the amount of song that you own? Technically, yes, but you do a 4-way because each person brings something unique to the room. For instance, yesterday's write was with me and Matt Rogers and Tim Nichols and Jimmy Yeary, who are some of my favorite writers in Nashville. Matt Rogers is a great singer, and he brings the most amazing melodies to the room. Tim Nichols is an amazing lyricist who just brings years of wisdom. And Jimmy Yeary is an incredible storyteller and very well connected. He's really a great publisher in his own right, and he's an amazing singer too for certain styles of demos. Now, I bring the tracks, the music. I help come up with quirky standout lines, and I'm really good at simplifying what can tend to be often complex Nashville lyrics into singable formats. And so with all of those skills in the room, we got a great song yesterday. I don't know if it will be a hit, but it is certainly hit worthy. And it was because of all of those different skill sets that we brought into the room, and that's how you get something amazing. So what is so great about co-writing? Well, co-writing was the best way for me to personally grow my skills, and it's ultimately going to be the best way for you to grow your skills. Co-writing makes up for your weaknesses. Like I said before, few people are fully formed, encompassing all of those roles. Very few people that I've ever worked with can do the producer role well, and they can be a great lyricist, and they can be a great melody writer, and they're a great singer, and they're a great connector. Very few people have all of those things covered. So chances are you might be good at one or two of those things, like I am, and you need people to help make up for your weaknesses. So that's where co-writing comes in. The other great thing about co-writing is that songs don't take forever. Like I said, with my write yesterday, we had a song done and finished and demoed within like a 4-hour session. And that's pretty normal. That's like an everyday thing. Sometimes we do 2 of those a day. And so co-writing makes things way more fast than just you sitting in your bedroom by yourself or in your office by yourself, banging your head against the wall, unable to commit to something, unable to make a decision. In co-writing, it's all about getting to that consensus and getting to something fast. The other thing I love about co-writing is that it's more inspiring and fun to bounce ideas off of each other. There's something that's kind of intangible about this. You might say, something being fun, is that make it worth it doing it just because it's fun and inspiring? Well, for me, yeah. I want everything I do to feel fun. I don't want it to feel like work every time I come in to write songs, because it's really hard. So co-writing just takes a lot of the hard out of it and just makes it feel so much more easy and so much more inspiring. The other amazing thing about co-writing is that you have people available who have different musical skills, which can give you a unique focus. You could focus on becoming the greatest programmer there is. You could focus on just becoming a great bassist. You could focus on becoming an amazing vocalist. You can just really niche yourself down and get good at a particular thing. The other thing is, if you're an artist, co-writing is a great thing because it keeps your sound fresh and it keeps you from getting stale. The greatest artists I know always love to just change up their pool of people they're working with on production and co-writing, because they're going to come up with the same things over and over and over again if they're left to their own devices. And you know, a good example that a lot of you are probably thinking about right now that makes the counterpoint is Zach Bryan. Zach Bryan is the hot stuff in Nashville right now, blowing up, famously, you know, writes all of his own stuff. But here's the reality. He's starting to figure out this whole collaboration thing. He just put out a song with Casey Musgraves. He's going to continue leaning into the co-writing world because the same thing would happen with him, and he'd keep writing the same exact hillbilly poet thing he does over and over again. So he's even going to need co-writers to pull him along. So if you're an artist, you need co-writers to help your art from getting stale. I've talked a lot about co-writing, why I think it's amazing. Hopefully you agree with me at this point, or you at least understand where I'm coming from. But I want to address some objections that you may be thinking about right now. And you might be thinking, won't co-writing make it not my song? Like, how can it be my story if it's written with others? Well, the reality is, like, what I do every day, it doesn't matter whose story it is. I'm just trying to create a great story. It might be mine. It might be the other person in the rooms. Ultimately, the end goal is to make an impact and to become a song that becomes an anthem for so many other people. That's ultimately the goal of a song. And if you're an artist, the true great artist, and I'll use Tim McGraw for an example here, he's been able to record so many songs that he really had nothing to do with the writing process of, but he can sell it, and he puts himself, he's able to connect himself and his own story to it in a way that he can sell it to an audience, and it doesn't feel like it came from somewhere else. That's really where the art as a artist comes in, is like, just the best song wins whether you wrote it or whether you didn't write it. So if you think co-writing will make it not your song, I want to urge you to think twice about that. Another objection: am I too old to co-write, or am I too young to co-write? Maybe I've never done it before and I'm 50 or 60 years old. Well, let me tell you something. We started a community called Song Chasers, and we didn't know what it would become. We didn't know it was going to take off the way that it did. And we've had people come into that community who had never heard the word co-writing before, who have gone on to write 100, sometimes 200 songs in a year with other amazing co-writers. And some of these people are, you know, 60-year-olds who just love doing it, and they don't have any special, unique qualifications or certifications to do it, so age really doesn't even matter. Age is not a thing in co-writing. The other thing that we hear a lot is, do I need to be experienced to co-write? Well, the answer is no. Just do it with friends or in places like Song Chasers, which is what we created. There are people who welcome newbies in Song Chasers with low pressure and with open arms. So if you've tried co-writing before and it hasn't gone well, it's probably because you weren't matched in the right room. But I want to tell you this, that there's a room for you somewhere where your exact talents are perfect. Doesn't matter whether you're just starting out, you're going to find people who are also just starting out who you can grow with. If you've been doing it for years and years and years and you're a seasoned songwriter, I promise you, there are other seasoned songwriters out there who you will click with. I hope your takeaway more than anything is that you can do it. And if you haven't tried it before, call a few friends, even if they're barely musicians, and just try it. Have some fun. So now you know the skill that led to all of these streams and many more. But what are some practical tips for co-writing rooms? How do you become such a valuable co-writer that other writers are begging to work with you? Well, the good news is I'm working on a video that will show you exactly that. And as soon as I have it finished, I'm going to put it right here. And if you don't see a video here yet, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss it as soon as it's ready.